Yeah, yeah. I learned my lesson, but shorty, I'm back on my pivot. Don't bring no people around if you know they ain't with it.
I mean, originally, I don't think it was really a plan. I had a track called Funds and I needed a remix for it.
I'm back on my ball, I'm back on my ratchet shit.
I guess the most powerful moment was when Jess invited us on stage at Northern Base to perform Funds live before it was even released. I remember all of us walking off that stage and just looking at each other like, yeah.
If she ain't loyal, that ain't no issue, that ain't no thing, I'll leave her.
Why did you decide to become a collective now?
It was a couple of different things. So obviously when we all got together, it was like there was a chemistry there that we wanted to keep creating. But then I guess as well, like with like the nature of what this year has been in general, I think that the black community, especially in Auckland, but actually across New Zealand, has become quite unified and like sort of in a quite deliberate way. And so I think that we have all been hanging out as friends more than we ever were before.
And, you know, I think it's a very important time in terms of what it means to be a black New Zealander. I think there's a real culture being built. We almost feel, you know, that this is the perfect time to collaborate and further expand on that culture from a music aspect.
I've seen like back-to-back freestyles from a couple of you, namely Abdul and Mo.
Formulating future outcomes, risk assessments, rationing in case a drop comes.
It looks to me like this moment in time has kind of galvanized you to create and release more art. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, it has. Because what it's done is that it's kind of like just made me realize that the most powerful way that I can, you know, send a message is through music. You know, I've got all the time in the world to let tweets fly. But I realized that, you know, off the back of, you know, that a cappella freestyle and even the most recent 2020 freestyle, that was what people really engaged with. So it's really made me kind of double down on my passion for music. Not even particularly creating music that touches on those subjects, but just in general.
That was me too when I reminisce.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, because I remember having a few discussions, like, you know, while this has all been going on with some friends about like how everybody like in a movement doesn't necessarily have the same role. And so, you know, you've got some people who are writers, some people who are leaders, some people who are speakers, and then you also have artists, you know, and creatives. And I think that the best way to add to the whole picture of what is going on is to do what you do best, you know? Like, it's not just about the fight all of the time. It's about actually being able to live and like have fun and joy and all of those things that come with it. So I think that that's why music and sport and all of these other things are really, really important to the whole movement.
The way I look could mean a warrant for my death. Blood in the Red Sea, unspoken genocides, love to Yemen and Palestine, and style bender, the only Israel I recognize. Wise is awoken.
Well, that actually brings me to my next question, is like when I think about Funds Part 2 and flying, I just think about how like fun and high energy it is. How important is it right now to cultivate black joy, and is that something that you consciously think about when you're making music?
Absolutely, yeah. And I think that as people, we're multifaceted, you know, like when I get asked what my music is about, I'm like, how could I possibly put that in one sentence? Like my music is about every single thing that I'm experiencing. So sometimes that's just having fun with the homies, you know, and it's as simple as that, and that's all it needs to be. I don't think there's like, you don't need to explain it any more than that. And people take their own, you know, like if we can make other people feel joy by what we're doing, then that's our job done, you know? Thanks. Whatever the feeling is, just make sure you make people feel it, right? Yeah.
Energy is all I request. Shorty talking booming, I take it a quest. Mix the Red Bull with some potion, take a swig till I feel possessed. I need a bag every time I hit the stage. Nothing.
Yeah, I feel like we don't really have to try to cultivate that type of energy, because us as individuals coming together, I feel like it just happens organically.
Yeah, I've been up 3 days deep, no sleep, on the edge of my seat, I'm wildin'.
I think like Jess brought up a real interesting point about how roles aren't the same in these types of movements, and so like thinking about somebody being great in the avenue of music or in the case of sport, like when you think of Izzy being like UFC middleweight champion, what does a moment like that mean for you, and how does it propel and help the work that you guys do?
I think it's great because it's someone that looks like you kind of, you know, taking over the world. You know, someone that looks like you on TV. Someone that looks like you that's on the news for something good, you know? Because, yeah, and I guess like we don't have that. We've never had that. That's really the first person we've had like that. Yeah. At that level, yeah. At that level, and it's real dope because it's like, shit, you know, the sky's the limit.
Yeah, I mean, when you do see, you know, immigrant New Zealanders, particularly, you know, black New Zealanders, all excel at their respective passions, what you're going to see is people are going to question what it actually means to be a New Zealander. You know what I mean? Like the identity of a New Zealander, because, you know, you think about what a typical New Zealander is, and, you know, what do you think about? You know, so when you do have a champion like Israel Adesanya flying the New Zealand flag, you know, that's a New Zealander too.
I think that it all just comes back to that idea of visibility. And I know, like, growing up in New Zealand, that was something that we never had. And now the next generation do. We know Izzy and we see him around. And so it's cool to have someone like who we speak to and we know, see them doing well. I think it's like inspiring for us as well, because like he's part of our community.
I could be wrong, but I think this is the first time that we've kind of seen like 5 African New Zealand MCs coming together to like form a crew like this. Does it feel a bit revolutionary, or is that too heavy a word?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that probably there is another African artist called Masbo Q who's like sort of spoken on this before, and it, like when he spoke about it, it's sort of like something that I keep going back to, and it's this idea that like what we're doing right now is we're creating Black Kiwi culture in New Zealand, and so all of these things that sort of haven't happened before are starting to happen. And so in 20-30 years time, when you're talking about the origins of UFC in New Zealand, music, you know, black rap in New Zealand, there's sort of like we're a part of that whole wave. And I think that it's a huge privilege and an honor to be a part of something at its beginnings, because I guess we're able to make a lasting impact on what will be in the future.
Even for me right now, I don't really see it, like, because you're just so in the moment, and it still feels for me like just 5 kids just fucking around, you know, just having fun and doing the damn thing. I'm really excited to see how it looks in hindsight, and how it'll like inspire like a whole new thing after us, whether that be in music or TV or radio or just entertainment period. I think it'll be really dope to see that.
I just keep going back to the thing of like when I was a kid, it did not look like this at all, you know, and now I can name 10 you know, African artists over here who are killing it, you know, off top. So, you know, and like Mo said, I think at the end of the day, it's important to know and to keep in mind that this is all a contribution to NZ culture as a whole. For a lot of people before Izzy, a lot of people probably had never heard of New Zealand, you know, and you know, the more we do, you know, what we do, the more it, you know, kind of brings back over here. So I think that we just need to support each other at the end of the day.
How do you hope to inspire the next generation of African New Zealanders?
Just by existing and doing what we're doing.
Why didn't I think of that?
If we can all step into our passions and just keep doing what we're doing, that is the most inspiring thing we can do. That's it.
I actually got a message from someone that I knew a while back, and he said that he was touched to see all of us get together and create such a dynamic collective, because his kids came up to him and said, "Oh, have you seen this group of Africans that are doing their thing?" And he was real touched by that, and he said something powerful to me that really resonates with me. He said that we are at the forefront of inspiring the next generation of Africans to go and pursue something because they see familiar faces that are doing it as we speak. So yeah, I think that was real important, and I can't wait till the dust settles so I can actually look back and see what we actually created here.
One of my little cousins, who's like 14, is like she's a big fan of JessB, and it's like, and I feel like it's really dope for me to see that someone that she has someone to look up to, you know, who's Kiwi and African and like, you know, relates to her come up and her struggle and stuff like that. And I'm like really proud that she has something like that, and that
Look at that now.
yeah, that she has something to look at, that, you know, stuff that we didn't really have coming up. And again, like Mo said, just like, and can you imagine us just existing and doing our thing is like such a big deal to, you know, it's gonna be such a big deal to kids coming up in the country.
I have a feeling that these singles, Funds Part 2 and Flying, aren't going to be, I mean, they're just the start of something a lot bigger. So what can we expect from you in the coming months?
Every single thing that we drop is going to be like something that you haven't heard or wasn't, you know, nothing sounds the same. So people are going to be like, damn, I thought they were that, but they're really this, you know what I mean? So it's going to be super eclectic, super dope.
We're actually bringing that African flavor, the African sound into music, which is going to be real new and unique. I personally haven't seen anyone incorporate that in the music, so I feel like that is an exciting drop apart from all the other crazy, high energy, you know, thought-provoking tracks that we have. I think that's going to be a standout game changer.